Good morning. How are you? Great, great. Are we ready? Miss, could you get him to get me some ice, please? And a Coke. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to see each and every one of you. And we'll turn it over now to our very capable city clerk.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, May 11th. We have approval of minutes from May the 4th. Appeals, we have request for waiver of the noise ordinance on June 12th on St. Elmo Avenue from 6 p.m. until 12 a.m. Mr. Williams.
Okay,
Okay, I guess.
they're gonna be rocking.
May 22nd on Navco Road from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. June 5th on Windmill Drive from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. May 15th in Cathedral Square from 2 p.m. until 7 p.m. June 5th on Clementi Court from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Janice Robinson regarding speeding traffic, Josephine Street, and Reggie Hill regarding agenda items 21332, 01024, 08340, 08345, and 31348. Resolutions held over, 08329, approved purchase order to Technical and Scientific Application, Inc. for 102 HP desktop computers, $73,950. 08330, approved purchase order to Samsung Equipment for 2 Peterbilt garbage trucks. 21331, authorized contract with Gorham Air Conditioning for Mobile Sanger Theater mechanical upgrades. 21332, authorized contract with A14 Government.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis.
I'd like to come back to the garbage trucks for a minute.
Yes, sir.
When we started buying garbage trucks, my recollection was that we had a maintenance agreement with them. Is that right? We had some kind of extended warranty or something like that. And I'm just wondering how all that's working out.
Councilman, we bought the bulk of the garbage trucks all at one time. It was, I believe, with maybe oil spill money or something along that line. And so, and that they had, I think, a 5-year warranty, which we've passed.
Right.
So that extended warranty is out. So everything really is on us at this point in terms of the maintenance. We're slowly trying to stagger now purchases in 2, 3, and maybe even 4 in the projections that we have to get them in a sequence so that as we start to replace them in the future, they're staggered. We're not trying to get 15 of them at once. As you see, they're about $333,000 each.
What's their expected life, Colonel?
It really depends on the usage, but we anticipate generally, I think, is about a 6-year life on those. So on our trash trucks, we found that we had a 6-year, and really we're getting about max 5. Now, we really used them up a lot last year. We probably did double than we would have. So that actually is a shorter life currently. But 5 to 6 years is about right currently. Some areas may be able to get more, but just in terms of our usage and what we do, that's what we're seeing right now.
Do we have a sinking fund on garbage trucks and trash trucks like we do on the police cruisers?
Part of the water.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm calling it a sinking fund, but what we instituted a number of years ago was, my recollection, on the police cruisers was, we said police cruisers have a 5-year life, and that we charged rental to the police department, and that rental allows us to to replace the cruisers as they reach the 5-year period of their expected life. And I just wondered if we had a system in place like that for the garbage trucks and trash
We do.
trucks.
Actually, for the entire fleet, we have that in place.
That's what I thought.
So we're into year 2, I think, of that now. So every department pays a rental rate, and then they use that to replace vehicles as they go. It was tough getting started because
Right,
we started at 0.
Right.
But we've got that going now, and it's working out pretty good. There's a couple areas where we've got to fine tune some stuff, but overall, and in the public services department, they roughly add in about $4.5 million, $4.2 million, and right now their projections are need about a $6 million a year need. So we're going to fine tune that to see where that
Right.
leveling point is in terms of the equipment needs versus how much they're
We were
contributing.
sort of shooting blind at the beginning in terms of what the expected life was and that kind of thing. And I guess over time, our experience will allow us to more accurately predict what the life is.
That's right.
Are you anticipating any problems actually acquiring the equipment, like the problems we're having with respect to the trash trucks?
Right now, these garbage trucks, we're lucky that the local vendor actually has these
Okay,
two
good, good.
available. As best I know, we might be able to get these really quick. That's not always the case. The trash trucks, though, were a completely different beast. All large trucks right now are on about a year to a year and a half backlog across all platforms. So if they were already produced and they're sitting on a lot, I think these two are actually readily available, which is good, which is rare. But if you're ordering new from the factory, it's about a year to a year and a half wait on all large trucks right now.
Okay.
Is what we're being told.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr.
President, since we're talking garbage and trash, I do appreciate the administration sending out a news release about garbage. It's not often that we get behind on our garbage collection, but every so often it happens, and I think that helped at least explain to all of the people who keep calling us about why is my garbage not being picked up. So I think that got...
Trash or garbage?
I'm getting to trash. This is garbage. The microchips and all of that sort of thing, trucks on order. So I think that helped, although garbage seems to be pretty well caught up, but we were behind there for a while. But the other thing on the trash, can you just give us an update as to how far behind we are and how long do you think it's going to take before we do get caught up? And I know that there are some places around the city where you can take your bagged trash if you want to get it off your curb.
Sure. We're still about a week and a half behind out of schedule. So right now we're putting out a update every day on where we'll be the next day. It's pretty hard to predict other than about noon the day prior for us to know based on the volume of trash that's being put out there. And then the assets that we have available and the workforce that's available. So we anticipate getting the new trucks in. We've been told this month. We don't know the specific date. But once we get those in, it'll still take us a little while to get caught up. Even if we have all the trucks readily available, it'll take us a while to get caught up. So I would say you can anticipate another, upwards of 30 days before we're officially caught back up. So we'll keep updating everyone on where where we'll be the next day, so they know when to put it out at the curb. But as you can imagine, being behind, people then just put more and more out. So it's kind of a losing battle, because when there's more out there, it fills up the trucks quicker and you can't get caught up. So it's getting behind is a very difficult thing. Once we get the vehicles in, we'll be back up to an operating level, but we'll need to be ordering more so we have spares so that when trucks go down, because right now we're limited. These two garbage trucks are an example where we'll keep the old ones as spares. We've had one burnt up for a while now, a garbage truck. In terms of the locations for the drop-off points, you're right. For our bagged yard debris, there are 4 drop-off locations around the city. I don't have the specific, but they're the similar locations that we had before, which are at Sage Park, Medal of Honor Park, Langen Park, and then Tremere Park. Those 3 or 4 park locations, you can bring your bag debris. There's a designated area. So if you have it bagged up and you want to get it off your curb, you can bring it there, drop it, and then it's easier for us to collect it there and then move it to the dump.
I appreciate that, because it is beginning to look like we've been through a hurricane with all of the storm debris that's on the curb. And you're right, it's springtime. People are working in their yards, and so it just keeps building up. But I mean, I understand, I just want people who are listening and all of our constituents to understand what's going on and what we're trying to do to get back on schedule.
I have a question. Mr. Delap, did anyone consider going to an outside source for contracting to pick up? Was that discussed or
It
weighed?
was, there's very limited entities in terms of trash that can do that. Typically, the ones that you would go to after a hurricane are the large debris contractors. Although they're great during the storms and post-recovery for getting all the large stuff, they're not as, the finesse is not quite there like our crews. And sometimes the type of equipment they use and the skill and the laborers that they have sometimes create more problems than they do good in terms of damaging yards and curbs and other things. And we get a lot of complaints about that during the storms. So we actually, in lieu of doing that, again, we've looked at other alternatives. We've actually are in the process of procuring 2 single-body type trucks to add into the fleet in the short term that we'll be able to use to augment as we're waiting on these other ones to come in.
And did you consider any kind of, which is normally a no-no, any kind of rental of equipment in the short term?
We did, so.
Because you have the staff, it's just.
So there's
not the
one, we
equipment.
have one rental that we got, and 2 other they're all straight body trucks. They're smaller, they're single units versus the combo units that we use. So for a total of 3 additional assets in the interim. 1, I believe, is on hand. 2, we're in the process of procuring. We should have in the next week or so. So that will help,
Yeah,
but it won't totally offset the
Right.
delta that we're in.
And for the debris that can go out to the parks, that's strictly leaf and things that would decompose. You don't
Bagged.
want people putting
That's correct.
garbage or big items in plastic bags and dumping them.
That's correct.
Correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, that should be-
Vegetative debris that.
You might want to
that's
have
bagged.
a yes and no list on what goes in the, I'm serious, because people want that stuff off their curb and stuff.
Right.
So it's.
And again, we apologize for the delays. We feel
Well, I
like it's a
think
little bit
it-
out of our control in
yeah,
terms of the
I think
delivery.
everybody understands it's a terrible word to say, but it's almost the perfect storm. But the catch-up is because my neighbor puts it out, oh, wait, they haven't come yet. I'm putting my stuff out. So I see it growing, throughout the district and all of the neighborhoods, which I'm sure everybody is.
Right.
So it just, if they come in and look for 1 week's pickup, if they go back the next week, it's going to double what's out there.
Right.
So it's
Mr.
tough.
President, I don't have a trash question, but I know some people may be listening, watching, and even here might think this is going in the wrong direction, but I'm going back to the first item, if I may, on computers. I had talked to Chief of Staff Barber a couple of weeks ago about a purchase of computers. This one happens to be 102, is that correct? Where are they going?
These computers are mostly geared for our rec and community centers, in which we had computers. The computers we had were old models and had the old operating systems no longer supported, and we had to remove from the network because of security threats.
So this is after school and those kind of
That's right,
kind of programs.
community centers, and so because they're running the old version of Windows and operating systems, they couldn't be upgraded, we had to do a wholesale upgrade. Normally, we wouldn't get that many at once, but we literally had to take them all those off the network.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to go back to the garbage and trash trucks for just a moment. At least the 4 sites selected for citizens to take their trash at this point, or the bag, debris, leaves, vegetation. Was the Hope Center in Plateau considered? Because I've gotten some concern from those citizens about the 4 locations not being in close proximity to where they live.
We can look at that. I know they consider a lot of locations, a lot of it, they try to do a geographic dispersal, but also access ease in and out for not only the citizens, but also the trucks to be able to then, and a place to be able to put it. But I'll have the team just double check to see if that's a possibility.
But if the Hope Center proper is not the appropriate place, certainly we have some open field or some easily accessible parcel of land in that community where they won't have to come. I don't know which one would be closer. I imagine James Seals would taking that interstate, flying off the interstate. It can just get to be a problem trying to solve a problem, whereas we could hopefully find a place in that vicinity that they can all just take it there and it'd be easier for them and hopefully easier on the crews. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson.
I would like to request that we just use all of the park, take them to any park. I think, why don't we just select 3 or 4 parks and say, well, why can't we just use all of the parks as a drop-off? Because, I got people in Trinity Gardens, there's nothing in Tolmanville. I'm saying we got Sage Park, but that's a long ways from citizens in Tolmanville and Trinity Gardens. So I know if that's not a problem, I would recommend that you add other parks.
Again, we'll look at if there's other options. Every park is probably not realistic, just because when we do it at collection points, it's much easier for us to go in and, in an efficient manner, collect that up and then move it out. If we're having to go to every location, that kind of defeats the purpose, because we have to have a lot of assets then dispersed to go do that. It takes a lot more time, where it's at a, single collection points. So we found the most efficient way is kind of what we have in about those 3 or 4 locations around the city. But we'll, again, take a look and see if there's any better ways to do it.
Well, it might be a little more efficient for the employee and for the staff, but it can work out to be more cumbersome for the citizen, which is really what we're trying to mitigate the trash not being picked up by offering them an alternative location. So I'd just be interested. I appreciate the commitment to reanalyze it, and hopefully a couple other locations can be found. Madam City Clerk.
21332, authorized contract with A14 Government Corporation for municipal court docket and document management software. 21333, authorized contract with Pyrotechnico for Independence Day fireworks display. 21334, authorized
Madam City
contract.
Clerk.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor on that item, and I'm sure there's probably not a member of this council that wouldn't want to join in with the fireworks. We all deserve something to celebrate, get out a little bit, breathe some fresh air, of course, socially distant, and so I'm totally in support of that.
Amen.
21334, authorized contract with Expelier for Matthews Park Field A improvements. 25335, accept 2 permanent sidewalk easements from the trustees of Fulton Road Baptist Church for Dolphin Island Parkway sidewalks. 60336, approve award of special bonus to the Parks and Recreation Department Employee of the Month, Eric Austin. Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 01024, ordinance to amend sections 1-31 and 1-32 of the Mobile City Code to incorporate and allow for enforcement of Chapter 57, right-of-way construction and administration.
Can we get some additional information on this?
Good morning.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so
Yes, sir.
that is the chapter that deals with direct enforcement on right-of-way. Previously, and it's a quite simple fix, previously we had one simple fine, but it was not particular to each one of the offenses that could take place. And so what we're doing is we're identifying in particular which fines will apply to which infractions. And so that way, not only can our enforcement officers be clear to the public, but when we go into court, we can also make it clear to people what they're being charged with.
What are the types of offenses that just to give me some example. I know placing signs in the rights of way is the one we've dealt with and still is largely ignored.
Correct. That's a number one. That's number one. It's a better enforcement tool. But then, of course, we were just talking about trash and garbage. So if people just left it out in the right of way, that's one. Or an installation of a permanent device of some sort in the right of way, or parking there. So a number of different things that could go down that line. But we've actually got a list, detailed list, and it's going to be included in what we're doing going forward.
Does this include pulling trucks onto the rights of way that sit on top of the sidewalks and rubbleize the sidewalks?
It does.
Excellent.
Mr. President? Yeah,
Big trucks.
I'm happy to see that, Mr. Woods. Just one other question. We were talking about right-of-ways, medians, that sort of thing, going back to trash a little bit. I'm hoping that this enforcement will relate back to trash when people like to put their yard debris onto medians rather than on their curb. I know sometimes you may not be exactly sure who put it there, but usually it's the house directly across the street from it. So we'd just like to see some of that enforced as well.
So, Mr. Woods, does it cover a person at their home, but on the sidewalk, parked, drinking a beer?
No, it does not. That's a completely different section of the code.
Just saying. I was at my campaign office last week, and numbers of people were walking up Church Street with open containers. But in the hood, they go to jail for that. You can't do that. But I see people openly. I know we legalized that downtown in the entertainment districts, but it has expanded far more than downtown. But you can be picked up, locked up, carried to court, sentenced to jail or fine for having one beer. You're not moving, or you can be walking down the street. You going to the grocery store, to the corner store, and you got a beer, it's on a bag. You just got to finish cutting your grass and you're trying to cool down. You got a beer, police ride up, take you and the beer to jail. While people are walking up and down the streets in other parts of the city, and nothing is happening. That is a concern to me. It's something I intend to address later on. We got to treat all our citizens the same way. At least give them a ticket. It's picking them up, carrying them to jail. It's way out of hand. Just saying.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Yes, sir. While I don't disagree that potentially you could be charged, but as I think back over the last year, I don't think we've arrested very many people for drinking in public, in particular in their neighborhoods. It's a possibility that it could happen, but usually it's the result of someone acting out irrationally or bad behavior on top of the drinking in the neighborhood as well, such disorderly conduct or something of that nature there. But simply someone in the neighborhood drinking a beer, I don't know of very many incidents with MPD in which we've acted in that manner and arrested somebody.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
I don't take no issue with what the chief says. I'm addressing the issue of being consistent. Chief, is it illegal for a person to go to the corner store and buy a beer and walking down the sidewalk with an open can of beer? Is that illegal?
While I did not disagree with you that it was illegal, my response was that it is something that I have not seen happen in
I agree.
Mobile in recent years.
I agree.
So I agree with what you said to the point that it's illegal, but the enforcement of such an act in the hood, in particular, as you made reference to the hood, is not something that I have seen happen over the last year.
I'm not disputing that, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about disparity in what we can do. That you downtown, you can do that. But over in the neighborhood, you can't do that. But I do see people doing it. If my office had not been located downtown, I wouldn't have seen anything. But I look out and they're walking down, husband and wife or whoever, and they got whatever they got. Ain't nobody saying nothing. I'm saying I agree with them. They ought to be able to do that, but they ought to also be able to do that in other parts of the city without the fear of being picked up by a police officer and hauled off to the jailhouse. That's all I'm
President.
saying.
If Councilman Richardson wants to change the law, I urge him to bring forward an ordinance.
I did preface what I say by saying that I expect to do that, but not today. We're dealing with fines, what we're going to fine people for, and I raised that issue about open containers. I'm through with that, Mr. President.
You put a street number on your house, you don't get fined.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, 58-337, authorized removal of weeds, group 1613, 6338, approval of award of special bonus to the firefighter of the month, 6339, designate the week of May 16 through the 22nd, National Public Works Week. CIP
Mr.
resolution.
President,
Mr. Vice President,
I'd like to ask the administration, probably Public Works, Colonel DeLapp, I mean, what all is going to be done that particular week? Could you inspire on that a little bit? May 16th through the 22nd, anything particular is going to happen or be done?
Yeah, so this is a national Public Works Week. It's generally led and sponsored by the American Public Works Association as a kind of show of support. We're asking, obviously, for the council's support and designating the city's support of that National Public Works Week. Typically during that time, we do additional kind of maybe training events and look to try and do some other event. Last year we didn't due to COVID, to kind of recognize that. Also talk about some of the themes that are encouraged that year. It's really just an acknowledgement and an acknowledgement for our individuals as well. Like I said, we try and do some kind of additional recognition for our employees during that week as well.
All right, thank you.
I'm certainly in favor of designating the week in honor of Public Works. There was at some time some talk about a workaround with, I believe, the state law as it relates to giving a similar bonus to a Public Works employee as we do to some of the other employees that we have. Has any traction been made in that regard?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've been coordinating with Shonda Smith, our Parks and Rec Senior Director, in terms of the Parks and Rec Department has been doing that. As you know, previously, prior when we had the incentive program, we couldn't do a bonus because we'd already had that other program in place. Since we've transitioned that into a pay adjustment for those employees, we're looking at implementing a new program to do exactly that across all public works. We just want to make sure, similar to what police and fire have done for a long time. So yes, that's in the works.
Because see, this isn't a criticism, this is an observation. No, we've been talking about it a while. So when do you feel we'll go from talking about it to actually, because I'm for any bonus, don't get me wrong. For the fire department, the police department, bonus away, I'm not against that. But I want to make certain everybody has in every department to the degree that we can, an ability to achieve one. So any timeline as to when we might start seeing, because it's all well and good for us to pass these resolutions, congratulating them on public works. It's all well and good to bring them here and give them a plaque and a certificate and smile for the camera and you can put it on our Facebook. I do it, so I'm not knocking that. But when we deal with other departments, something financial, something that can go in their wallets associated with it. And I'm just wondering, when will we get to that point with this particular group?
Again, based on the program we had in place, we could not do that because we had an incentive program in place. We just eliminated that like 2 weeks ago and moved to the pay adjustments for those. So it's brand new in terms of our ability to be able to do it. So we're actually trying to develop the procedure in which we're going to do that and the process that we're going to do that. So we've only had about 2 weeks since that last, program was in place. What I'll tell you is we also have been recognizing our individuals. We do a Public Works Champion every month in which we recognize a Public Works employee. So that's been happening, if you've seen the Facebook posts on that as well. So we've been doing it, but from a financial standpoint, we plan, it likely will be as early as next month. So you'll see it probably in June.
I have a
Because
comment.
even before the incentive program was put in place, and before your tenure with us started, when this issue was brought up, there was some aspect of state law that was prohibiting the city from giving this factor of employees a bonus as opposed to others. And so it's been going on a while. We've been asking about it a while, and I'm glad to know that as soon as next month, we'll be making some tangible progress in that regard. Yes, sir.
I have some questions.
Ms. Smith, I'd love to hear from you. Yes, ma'am. And then I'm coming right to you, Councilman.
Just for clarity, we don't announce, I know we announced it the first couple of times, but Parks and Rec, when they get Employee of the Month, they get a $500 bonus
Yes.
as a part of their
Oh,
Employee of the Month.
I'm not speaking in reference to Parks and Rec. I'm speaking in reference to Public Works. Because it's
But it
Public Works Week.
It sounds like, though, that the way Shonda is doing it in her department will be how they can do it in Public Works. I think the problem was that they had the bonus
That's right.
incentive thing built in, and then having the bonus that we were giving on top of that, that was the issue.
That was the issue, and so it only applied, they're only able to do that to people that weren't in that program and/or since about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when we transitioned the thing. The other thing is there's 6 departments under Public Works, so we're trying to figure out if are you going to do 6 separate ones, or are you going to do one? So we've got to make sure we're doing it, and that's what we're working on right now, is to figure out the best way to do it.
That sounds good.
Sounds,
Right,
it
Gary?
really does.
I have some questions.
Ms. Rich?
Thank you. I'm glad to learn that the incentive pay has kind of faded away. There was a time in a budget cycle where this council was adamant about a raise for Public Works as opposed to any kind of incentive program. We even budgeted towards that, but it wasn't initiated. So thank you for that. That's real important, I think, for all of our employees to have a similar type of morale system and an even keel for all the different departments that our citizens depend on, regardless of whether it's public safety or Public Works or even in the finance department. I just think it's a way to level that field for everybody. And when you made those adjustments, since that's operational, so of course you're working within the budgets that already exist, but they automatically, everyone got an increase, or, because I wasn't sure how your incentive program worked either, since we're not involved in the day-to-days on that. How did you go about aligning that for people?
That money was already allocated in terms of in the budget year
Right.
for that amount. So effectively, the amount was the same. It's just how it was being distributed to them. So we were able to use the same amount. It didn't impact the budget, the current year's budget. And so this year, again, it'll be the same thing. That'll just be incorporated into there going forward. So that was the big challenge, was to make it budget neutral. And so it took a while to sort through that.
Yeah, I'm sure it did, to try to align that. But again, thank you. And it's always nice to see the employees that get that belt and everything, but as Mr. Mancy said, what goes into their wallet is really a statement that, helps the public understand how important everything is. Thanks, appreciate it.
Mr. President, we have no harder working employees than those in public works. We have hard-working employees all over the city, but we don't have any that's working any harder than those in public works. What it takes to give a $500 bonus for 12 months is $6,000. I don't think we need to get Albert Einstein, no mathematician, to try to figure out how we're going to give them $500 a month. We've been doing that down through the years for the police department. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to do nothing special. We already know how to do it. It's not whether or not we know how to do it. It's whether or not we have the will to do it. If there is not $6,000 over there for the employee of the month, write it in the budget, and the council will approve it. Just add $6 more thousand to your budget and put a line item down there for it. It is for the employee of the month, and the council will approve your budget with that in there. So I don't think we ought to keep on going on and on and on by treating some of our employees differently than the other, then come back and try to sell us a bill of goods that is so common to do that it's not as simple as y'all think it is. That's what they said when I tried to go to high school and I was forced to go to a training school, that it's so complicated. I think one of those football players said, just do it, is what I recommend.
Madam City Clerk?
CIP resolutions being introduced, 08340, approved purchase order to Game Time for Crawford Murphy Park Playground Equipment and Installation, $373,340.13. 08341, approved purchase order to Carrier Corporation for chiller at the Mobile Civic Center, $178,809. Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 08342, approved purchase order to Toter for trash carts and lids, $125,135.20. 08.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
are these garbage carts? These are garbage carts.
I apologize, I missed the earlier question.
We are on 08343. No, we ain't.
Two.
342. It says trash cart and lids.
Right.
So those are garbage. We put garbage. We don't put trash in them. We put garbage.
That's right. They're
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
They're the normal ones that we get.
Okay.
Garbage
Okay.
carts.
That's right.
People keep it confused enough.
08343, approve item-based bid with McGriff Tire Company for after-hours tire services. 08344, approve purchase order for expansion module cyber hardware, $25,000. 08345, approve purchase order to CDW Government for 10 cameras for the police department, $45,527.90. 31.
Mr. President, could we get a little bit more information about that, please?
Those are replacement cameras for downtown, cameras downtown.
Nice.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
31346, authorized grant application for the fiscal year 2021 Port Security Grant Program, $2,091,222.70, and the match is $522,805.68. 31347, adopt the 2021 Alabama Division of Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan, Division A. 31348, authorize a grant application to the Alabama Historical Commission for the CLG Grant Program. Local match $22,405.37. Announcements.
I have a question, and we have to go way back on our agenda to 21331. We received some information from Ms. Kidd about, based on information the contractor is working on requirements, please provide one more week for contractor to report back. It was a second read, but do we need some more information? Is anything changed? That memo came in yesterday, I think. That's the Sanger Theater. It's 1.6 million upgrade.
Correct. We're still working with the contractor, and based on the information received from architectural engineering, they are trying to get to that point.
So we should
We should lay it over.
hold it over then?
Yes.
Yeah, that's your request. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't pick that up when we were reading it through.
No issues. Any other announcements from members of the council? Any announcements from Ms. Simpson? Any member of this administration? All right, if not, we'll see each other at 10:30.
Oh, good.